Hey there. I know there has been a lot of talk on social media and in the news when there was a recent announcement about a potential COVID-19 vaccine that was said to be about 90% effective. So I just wanted to create a short video to talk about what does that actually mean, and also to walk you through a recent article from the British Medical Journal about the current ongoing COVID-19 vaccine trials. I'm Dr. Patty Barch. I'm a traditional naturopath and owner of Naturally Unbridled Wellness in Onalaska, Wisconsin. I started my career in the biotechnology industry. I did cancer research for 8 years. I also have been contracted by the Massachusetts Department of Education to develop the curriculum standards and the teacher certification standards for the Massachusetts biotechnology education curriculum. So I have a strong background in science. I have 2 undergrad degrees in animal science, a master's in biology, and 2 doctorates in natural health. So the first thing I want to do is kind of review some of the things that I've covered in all other videos, starting with what is a virus and how does a vaccine work theoretically. So first of all, a virus is a tiny strand of DNA or RNA code in a shell. And the way the virus works is it gets into your body through some pathway, typically through like the nose or mouth, but can also be contracted in other ways. But the virus gets into your body, this little strand of DNA or RNA code, and it gets into your into your nucleus of your cell and into the DNA, and it literally, like a computer virus, gets into that cell and makes copies of itself. And that's how viral infection works. Theoretically, how a vaccine works is it introduces a small piece of that DNA to your body, along with substances called adjuvants that are designed to irritate the immune system so that you mount an immune response against that little piece of DNA or RNA. So sometimes when we talk about vaccines, people think that the vaccine keeps you from getting the virus, and it doesn't. It doesn't create a shield around you. It's not a force field. All it is theoretically an educational piece to teach your body how to fight off that virus. And so that's, the basics. So sometimes when people hear that there's a vaccine coming out that's 90% effective, what they think that means is that 90% of the people who get the vaccine will not contract the virus. So 100% of the people who get the vaccine can contract the virus. It just has to do with whether or not they can fight the virus off, which is what the vaccine is designed to do, to teach your body how to fight the virus off so that you have a mild case. So the problem with the current vaccine trials that are going on is that more than 90% of the people who get the COVID-19 virus have a mild case. So if the end point of the vaccine trials is that 90% of the people get a mild case, but on their own, without the vaccine, 90% of the people get a mild case, then the vaccine trials are flawed. The other thing is that these vaccines are not being tested against a group that is being exposed to the virus. So in good science, what would happen is you would have a control group who gets just the placebo. It doesn't do anything. You would have a group that gets the vaccine and is not exposed to the virus, so they can be evaluated for side effects and that sort of thing, which most of the side effects actually come from the adjuvant in the vehicle, the preservatives versus the actual DNA component of it. And then they would have a group of participants who got the vaccine and were exposed to the virus, so that you could see people, and the unvaccinated group. So then what you would do is you would compare all of those groups and see, like, of the people in the study, who was exposed to the virus and who contracted the virus with disease symptoms. So that's what's happening. So there's a great article in the British Medical Journal. It's, from October 21st of 2020, and you can download. It was also reissued on November 13th of 2020, but you can download it at bmj.com, and the title is "Will COVID-19 Vaccines Save Lives? Current Trials Aren't Designed to Tell Us." And I want to thank Dr. Paul Gash for sharing this article with me. So I've gone through this article and read it over, was really intrigued by some of the questions that were raised here, and I highlighted it. And I'm just going to bring some of those things to your attention. And please, I'm encouraging you to read the entire article yourself. It's actually quite easy to read versus some of the things that show up in medical journals. So one of the things he says, what will it mean exactly when a vaccine is declared, quote, effective? And this is what I was referencing, that they're literally saying that a mild case of the COVID-19 virus would be considered effective, when that's what happens anyway. Then ideally, you want an antiviral vaccine to do two things. First, reduce the likelihood you will get severely ill and go to the hospital, and two, prevent infection and therefore interrupt disease transmission. Yet, the current phase 3 trials are not actually set up to prove either. None of the trials currently underway are designed to detect a reduction in any serious outcome, such as hospital admissions, use of intensive care, or deaths. Nor are the vaccines being studied to determine whether they can interrupt transmission of the virus. And there's a whole table of all of the current vaccine trial data. Moderna, Pfizer, AstraZeneca has 2 apparently, one in the US, one in the UK, Janssen, Sinopharm, and Sinovac. Then it goes on, severe illness requiring hospitalization admission, which happens in only a small fraction of symptomatic COVID-19 cases, would be unlikely to occur in significant numbers in clinical trials. Data published by the U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention in late April reported a symptomatic case hospitalization ratio of 3.4% overall, and that varies from 1.9 to 7.4 depending on the age group. Because people with symptomatic COVID-19 experience only mild symptoms, even trials involving 30,000 or more patients would turn up relatively few cases of severe disease. In the trials, final efficacy analysis are planned after just 150 to 160 events. And events are people who get symptoms, even if they're mild. That's a positive indication of symptomatic COVID-19, regardless of severity of illness. So out of 30,000 people, if 150 to 160 get COVID-19 and they have mild symptoms, they're considering that their end game. It continues, hospital admissions and deaths from COVID-19 are simply too uncommon in the population being studied for an effective vaccine to demonstrate statistically significant differences in a trial of 30,000 people. The same is true for its ability to save lives or prevent transmission. The trials are not designed to find that out. Then he goes on, our trial will not demonstrate prevention of transmission. This person, last name is Zachs, says, because in order to do that, you have to swab people twice a week for very long periods, and that becomes operationally untenable. It's too much work for them to actually study the efficacy of this virus in preventing the transmission of the disease. Then it summarizes, moreover, dramatic increases. So toward the end of the article, they're actually comparing flu vaccine protocols to what's being proposed for the COVID-19 vaccines. And they're talking about how even those studies, the flu vaccine studies, are flawed. And they said, Moreover, dramatic increases in use of influenza vaccines has not been associated with a decline in mortality. So people have been getting flu shots over and over and over, year after year after year. And there's footnotes here with the references. They haven't been able to detect a decline in mortality despite all those vaccines. So that's kind of a nutshell of what's going on in the vaccine trials. And I just want people to be clear because the messages in the media can be confusing, and people who don't have a background in science often jump to assumptions about what a vaccine does do. And most people think that if a vaccine is said to be 90% effective, it means 90% of the people who get the vaccine won't get the disease. And remember, it doesn't keep you from getting the disease. It theoretically keeps you from letting the disease get out of control. But that is not what these clinical trials are studying. So just please be aware. Please read this article from the British Medical Journal. It's actually quite easy to read and really informative, with a lot of tables and things like that to give you more information. So I hope you found this helpful, and I hope that you can be well. Peace out.